Hey Transformers fans, it's time for another modern Transformers review, and this time out we're taking a look at Siege, War for Cybertron, Sixgun. So not too long ago I took a look at COG, the Weaponizer, which was an awesome complement to the gigantic Fortress Maximus that they recently did. And now Metroplex gets his little companion as well in Sixgun. And taking a look at the box, this customized box art is fantastic. Just like all of the other Siege box art. We get a good look at Sixgun inside the box in robot mode. And then in the old days there used to be a big collage on the back. This time they're going on the side with it, but it is just as stunning and beautiful as that old 80s back of the box art is. Kind of wish it did take up the entire back, but that doesn't leave much room for the actual toy info. But that's really cool. You get a shot of Cybertron there. There's the Arc, Sideswipe, Optimus. It's a really stunning image. I bet they're doling out some premium coin for this type of art. And then on the back we see Sixgun in robot mode. He's got a jet mode this time. And then some of the upgrades that you can do. And even though he's got official upgrades, this guy, COG, and other weaponizers to me are very much like Kenner Centurions. You can do whatever you want, really. You don't have to follow the actual configuration that they give you. And if you're interested in picking up your own Siege Sixgun after watching this review, he is available at Big Bad Toy Store. Just click the link in the show notes below. Alright, so let's pop this guy open and take a look at Siege Sixgun. I like that the boxes are resealable, so you can take your Transformer out, play around with them a bit. That's really cool too. And some toys look better in the box, some look open, and if you get tired of them, then you can just pop them back in the box and put them on a shelf and display them. So in the box you get Sixgun and you get this odd thing. I don't understand what this is. It's just a bunch of gibberish to me. Probably because I'm from the 80s and I've never needed or really wanted to look at this stuff. Although, with this particular guy, since he doesn't transform into anything recognizable like a car or a Jeep or a plane, you might actually need instructions if you want to get him into that jet mode configuration. I might actually have to take a look at these. But taking a look at Siege Sixgun, and my immediate first impression is, it's a word I like to use on here for guys who are kind of lithe and thin looking. It's spindly. He's spindly. He doesn't have a lot of bulk and power to him. And the other thing I noticed right away is he really likes to fall back. So that could have easily been fixed with just some sort of a peg or some sort of ankle support back here. A lot of Transformers have them to stop him from doing that. So you sort of have to lean him forward, or I mean he's pretty sturdy, but compared to other Transformers, he really does like to fall backwards. So let's take a look at his articulation first of all. Arms 360 as always. Shoulder articulation. He's got these back guns like the original Sixgun, which luckily have a lot of range to them. They're not just stuck in place like the originals were. So it gives you some room to move here. Great shoulder articulation, more than what's realistic. And that's not a ball joint, so he can't do a cross chest reaches. The elbow has a swivel, and so he can do the hands on his hips pose. And you're going to get that with weaponizers where guns just are constantly falling out. So the guns in default mode are plugged into these little things near his, these pegs near his elbows. So that's cool. Give him a little attitude. He's got the same problem as Cog. Little sturdier, little snugger fit than my Cog though, luckily. But I like that you can give him a pose like this. It's little things like this that can give a Autobot some real attitude. Fist, does it move? No, it's a solid piece. And these, you can put them anywhere really. Now, I think I'd love to put it on there, sort of like kind of how Galvatron, Megatron have theirs. But this peg right here is blocking that. It's not allowing that. This gun has a peg here and a hole here, which allows for some freedom of placement of guns. That actually looks really cool. Wasn't sure how that would look, but that's I like that. It's kind of like Warpath's chest gun, just two of them mounted on his shoulders. So that's not bad at all. And then the other configuration, well, let me see here before I get to the holding of the hands. You can even put them on there and they're kind of like wings or something like that, but most people will just put the guns in the fists. Kind of a loose fit, but snug enough to hold. Yeah, that's going to be the standard configuration for most people. Continuing on with the articulation, he's got splits because everyone's got splits these days, although this is what happens when I try to do the splits. A leg falls off. So you can have him do the ultimate Van Damme splits. And what else do we got in here? He's got that great Spartan kick like most modern Transformers have. He can get all the way up here. And then one of the problems with a lot of Transformers is they can't go back all the way because it's impeded by something. But this guy, the only thing that really impedes possibly are these things here, but they flip up. So that's doesn't even have to be in the way. Then it's just this little thing right here that sort of gets in the way. But look at that. That is awesome. These more affordable. I don't like to call them cheap because they don't feel cheap. They don't look cheap. So I like to say more affordable. Transformers have such great articulation, range, flexibility, and stability that a lot of them really put the Masterpiece Transformers to shame, even though the Masterpiece guys are twice, 3, 4 times more expensive. This is making me seriously reconsider getting any more Masterpiece Transformers and just sticking with these guys, because Masterpiece guys a lot of the time just feel like display pieces. This looks like a display piece and a toy that you can actually futz around with. Let's take a look at his knee. So he's got some nice knee articulation, but it stops at a 90 degree. So he can't do the Beachcomber Zen kind of kneeling pose. And let's see, his toes actually move. That's cool. So you can boot a Decepticon right in his Decepti-chassis without breaking this guy's toes. And he's also got an ankle pivot too, so he can get... That really shows you how loose these are. You can fix that pretty easily by just putting a coat of clear nail polish on them, and they'll snug it up a little bit. But that ankle pivot is awesome for just making him a little bit more stable. And also, because these disconnect, he's got full hip rotation. When you're playing around with this guy, I just want to mention this now before I forget, you might feel like it doesn't matter which way you put him on, but it does, because the ankles only pivot one way. So if you put the legs on backwards, he won't be able to do his proper ankle pivot. And that's about it. He can sit. I wonder if he can sit cross-legged, sort of, kind of. Yeah, there's quite a bit he can do. And these guns keep falling out of his hands, so I think I'm just going to stick them in his shoulders. It's not that much tighter a grip, but I like the look of it. And it seems a little more stable. And final point of articulation is his head does turn. It's a little obstructed by this piece back here, which does fold down to give a little bit more room. But he can look around, no up-down movement though. And really nice sculpt on the head too. That's really cool. Nice sculpting all throughout actually. You got a little bit of silver paint on the chest. The color scheme goes beautifully with Metroplex, who I will bring in later in this review because I can't do a Sixgun review without Metroplex, his big buddy. And we'll see how the colors match up on Metroplex, but this is another thing I love about the Siege line. They don't go overboard, just a little bit of this battle wear, just light silver brushing on here and on here. It's kind of funny that it only appears in these two spots, on the feet and this little spot on the legs, but I like it, it works. And a teeny tiny Autobot symbol on the chest. Alright, that's Sixgun in robot mode. And before we transform him up, let's compare him with his original G1 self, if we can get him to stand. And here he is with his G1 self. And I always forget how big G1 Sixgun is. He's a big bot. So there wasn't much to work with off of this guy, since he's just literally a bunch of guns stuck together. It was just kind of a bonus thing, never really intended to be a big complicated transformer that you play with. That's his only point of articulation, is his arms go up and down. But they've carried over what details they could, but since this guy is so basic and sparse, they had to take some creative liberties. So his venting on the sides here is carried over. This was never really intended to look like anything other than some sort of a tower on Metroplex. This, since he has a jet mode, looks more like a cockpit. The guns on the sides, they've sort of tried to carry, like, you know, these lines, this venting is sort of repeated here. Do I have these on backwards? Possibly. I can see how this part is sort of similar to here. I mean, it's a stretch. The big thing is the head. The heads are similar. And also, Sixgun had these two cannons in behind his head, and so they've brought that back too. Swing these down here. And we do see some similarities too on the legs. You've got this piece is very similar to that piece coming out right below his knee. The feet are pretty close. This thing looks like that thing. So it's cool that they have drawn a lot of inspiration from the original, even though the original is what he is, which is just kind of a statue. He's got basically Rodimus Prime articulation, which is next to nothing. But it's cool. And I just noticed one more configuration that you can do with his guns. Since there are pegs right here, you can actually attach these guns here. And he's got some cool shoulder cannons. That looks really cool too. Okay, I'm going to transform this guy into jet mode now, and because I have no idea what he's supposed to look like, I gotta look at the instructions. Yada yada, flip it, and okay, fine. That's good enough. So the first step, actually, I wanted to mention, this was already up right out of the box. This part behind his head. It's supposed to be down here. But I actually like the way it looks when it's up in his robot mode. It just looks a little bit, I don't know, more armored. The white kind of flows, the color scheme flows a little nicer. So that's your first step, but I like to have that up there already. So you're gonna have to pull his arms off, and in order to do that, I've got a special guest. There you go, that's one, and that's another one. Thanks, Chewie. And so the next step is you're gonna actually, well, let's flip these shoulders up like this. These come off, these little guns. Didn't realize that earlier. They pop off there. And that flips. You gotta turn the head around. And when you turn the head around, there's a little groove in here that fits and hides the face. Always great when faces are hidden in alt mode. And then you gotta pull them apart in segments. Let's push all of his parts here. If you're familiar with G1 Sixgun, then this is actually a nice return to form, because the original one was a parts former, and I like that this one is a parts former. So you'll line all these cannons up like this. So these legs are going to get turned around, but I actually have to pop them off like this. And you're going to feed this tab right here into this thigh. And you might notice that they don't line up. It's because this thing right here moves a little bit. See how that unhinges? So you might have to push it up or down a little bit. And the reason I swapped the legs is because if you just put them together the way they were, these pegs are going to hit each other on the inside. But swapping them like so puts them on the outside. Now we can attach this upper part, plug this peg right into this hole right here, and just push that in like this. Line these cannons up a little bit. And we can put the arms back on. Which way do they go? Well, you can pretty much do whatever you want here, but aesthetically this looks like it should be visible and this should be hidden, so I'm just going to stick these in like this and like that. We're getting there. Now we just have a couple of guns to attach. So you can take these red guns and pop them into the holes right here. Put one there, and then the guns, I guess, are supposed to go back here, back here. Even though there are thrusters here, I don't really like the look of these arms sticking out like this. So I think it might actually look better if you just turn the arms in like this. Makes it look more like a jet, instead of having these obvious arms sticking out. And then with these guns, where could they go? There's pegs everywhere. I mean, That's the one problem with sticking the arms in. There's not really anywhere you can put the, well, under here. It's not too bad. So this is an alternate transformation configuration. If you think this might look a little bit better, he's a little crooked in some places, but for the sake of just seeing what the official transformation is supposed to look like, so you can actually pop these guns onto these pegs, which helps hide the arms a little bit and thickens them up a little bit. And you can take this peg right here and pop it in, which I'm not going to do because it looks like it might be a little tough to get out. But if you have other Siege, Power of the Primes, Transformers, that is the peg that you would attach this to their back, and then they've got an awesome jetpack. But on his own, this is, I cannot look at this without thinking the Feliner from Thundercats. This totally looks like the Thundercats Feliner, if you ask me. Not an exact match, but definitely some similarities. What do you think, Panthro? Does that look like the Feliner?
We need a hyperspace mega condenser.
Yeah, I thought so. So that's a cool little bonus, but personally, I like that Sixgun was 6 guns, and I don't really need for him to have a vehicle mode. It was unique enough for him to just be a bunch of guns that all came together. So I only have one other Siege figure, which is the previously mentioned Cog, and I think it might be fun to weaponize a Weaponizer. Cog also splits off into parts and can power up other Transformers, but let's see here. Oh, he's coming apart too. Cog's trying to weaponize the guy who's trying to weaponize him. But he's got posts, peg holes all over himself as well, so you can pop guns in every which way. He doesn't have much ankle support either, but there's no way he's falling back. He's a lot more sturdy than Sixgun. And we pull this off. Let's see where this can go. Maybe you're not going to be able to get every single part on there, but you can get quite a bit. These are similar to the old giant Metroplex guns. So let's see, maybe we'll take, where are those little red ones? Maybe we'll pop, oh, this will look cool. That kind of makes him look like his big buddy Fortress Maximus. Instead of hip guns, it's chest guns. This is a cool looking cannon too. I don't know, oh, maybe. Might be able to sort of plug that into his back here. It's got a big back cannon there. And then there's pegs everywhere. You can connect these every which way. It's crazy. Cog has these holes on the sides of his feet, so you can pop these giant cannons on the sides here, and then you can even, how about we pop these off? Pop this on, pop that on. It's like Lego. You just keep building and building. It looks like a mess, but it's a fun mess. It's just like a challenge. I want to add this last piece on here somehow. Where would I add this? Maybe on the back. No, that's not going to work. Oh, right there. This guy is loaded up now. And he doesn't fall back because these giant feet guns are actually stabilizing him. So, wow. That is really, really awesome. Weaponizing a weaponizer. He is ready for battle. And the final comparison is this beast. My kind of town, Metroplex, and Sixgun is very tiny compared to his big buddy Metroplex. And that is really cool. That is just like adding cog to my Fortress Maximus. Metroplex, as big as he is, just isn't complete without Sixgun, Scamper, and Slammer with him. And speaking of Scamper, here's Metroplex's other little buddy. And the sizes are good, since in the G1 versions, Scamper was very tiny compared to Sixgun as well. So this particular Metroplex, I've already added a couple of third-party upgrades for the shoulder cannons, the hand cannons that he has, but I'm going to split up this Sixgun and power up this Metroplex even more. Okay, I'm gonna weaponize Metroplex. Not that he needs it, but we can find some ports all over the place here. Turn this back into a gun. Pull this port out here and soup up this gun right here, like so. Pull the other leg off, and let's see where else we can add a cannon. These guns right here have ports all over them too, but because it's a third-party gun, they're not really fitting quite as well. But let's see. Okay, he's got ports on the other side. You can put a bunch of stuff on his back, I guess. He's got a whole bunch of ports here, so you could just, let's see, stick a gun here. Oh, that's kind of loose. That's a little better. Give him a pair of guns back here. And I don't know, stick that there. Not really going for symmetry today. Could actually load two of these on top of each other like that, just in case you wanted to store your Sixgun on your Metroplex. So let's fold this up like this, and let's see, pull that off. None of these are going to be long enough to plug in behind here. But you could just store a whole bunch of them on himself on the side like that. And then this one, we've got a little port up here. We've already got something up there sort of obstructing, but a couple more. Turn that like that. Stick that in there. And it doesn't make much of a difference. He's so big, you don't even notice. So much for weaponizing one of these Titan class giants. It doesn't really make much of a difference, but it's there if you want it. So that's Siege Sixgun, an awesome standalone weaponizer, or a fantastic complement to your Metroplex. Big thanks to the Patreon tribe. Thanks so much for watching. If you have a question or comment, feel free to Leave it in the comments section below, and to join the tribe, hit subscribe. Nerdmas Day.